Hello everyone, welcome to another episode of Seed to Forest. In this episode, I, Gaurav Gupta, Chief Growth Officer at Xstep Foundation, will be talking to Santosh More, co-founder at Mantra4Change. Santosh is deeply passionate about social impact space and he has been working in it for more than a decade. His organization, Mantra4Change, has the vision of enabling enriching learning experiences for every child, and they work to enable education leaders to drive sustainable and continuous improvement across schools. In this conversation, you can listen to Santosh speaking about their journey of evolving from working with 50 odd schools to working at scale with more than 50,000 schools, and why they chose to take an approach of minimalistic programs and micro improvements to work at scale, and what's their model of engaging with the ecosystem and why is it important. I learned a lot about how to work with the ecosystem, and I hope it unlocks a lot of possibilities for you too. Happy listening. Hello, everyone. Today, we have with us Santosh More, who is the co-founder at Mantra4Change. Santosh has been at it for almost a decade now. And of course, he has that prior experience working in different firms. At Mantra4Change, Santosh and the team really look at how to empower the education leaders so that they can bring about transformation in a sustainable way in the schools. And their mission is how to enable that in more than 1.5 lakh schools across the country by 2025, so that ultimately the learning of a child can significantly improve in terms of the experiences that they have. And during today's conversation, we will talk to Santosh about the origins of Mantra4Change, the journey that panned out, and the learnings, the mistakes that happened along the way, and how has it shaped into what it is today with that mission that they have. So thank you, Santosh, for being a part of this, and welcome.
Thank you so much, Gaurav, for inviting me for this talk. I am looking forward to it and very, very excited. Thank you.
Great. Thank you, Santosh. So, Santosh, let's start at the very beginning, right? The beginning of the journey of Mantra4Change. Of course, as I'm talking to different founders, co-founders, and CEOs, they've been telling me that every time the journey starts with some sort of a problem or, the passion that they've had behind it. So was it similar in Mantra4Change? I mean, the problems that you saw around yourselves, or something that you were really passionate about, which led to the birth of Mantra4Change?
Yeah, of course. Like everybody else, I think passion was the key when we started Mantra4Change for both Khushbu and I. We both belong to Gaya district in Bihar. And we have seen how education has helped us in our lives in whatever we could do so far. So my education journey, I would say, started while I was part of the first cohort of Teach for India 2009. And during the same time, Khushbu was completing her MA from the Tata Institute of Social Sciences. So we both had got significant community exposure during that time. And when we, after completion of her studies and after completion of my fellowship, when we again came back to Bangalore, I think some of the things that we really were looking forward to was how do we teach children in the community. So we started with teaching children in a slum near our place. And then we also started working with a rainbow home. I would say it was meeting with Sanjay Purohit, who is one of our mentors since our inception, that changed the entire way that we were looking at our own intervention. He brought systems thinking to our knowledge. And I would say that changed the trajectory of the organization, the way we were thinking about the organization. In fact, by that time, तो organization भी registered नहीं था, right? Organization हम लोग सोच रहे थे कि register करेंगे, but I think those initial conversations with Sanjay Purohit and within the initial set of, I would say, co-founders at Mantra, that helped a lot in designing this journey of Mantra. So yes, definitely the passion. Plus also, I would say the mentorship that you get in the beginning of your organization helps a lot in the way you shape your organization.
Right. So, Santosh, as you described that, right? Walk us through that. I mean, what was that change? I mean, what were you doing earlier? And as Sanjay became your mentor, and he's been a mentor to a lot of initiatives like these. And of course, everyone has seen the fruits of it. But what was it for you? I mean, how did things change with that?
Yeah. So it was 2013, and Khushbu and I, we started in a slum very close to our house, Banshankari. is the area, if you are aware of. Banshankari, we used to go after our office hours, 7:30 p.m. we used to reach. And the thing was to, like, we gotten into a community where we started teaching them math, science, English. But since our jobs were also there, after a while, we realized that it would be good to have a full-time teacher who can also work along with us. So we were trying to raise funds for that teacher. And I would say that's where we got in touch with Anupma Purohit, who is Sanjay Purohit's wife. She was my colleague at my previous organization. So Anupma Purohit helped us to get in touch with him to raise 25,000 rupees. And that was the time Sanjay Purohit told us that I can give you this money right away, but do you think you are doing what your true potential is? And I think that changed our way of thinking. And he told that if you have a better plan, then let's meet on a recurring basis, week on week, and try and see what we can do with the Indian education system. But if you want to just go ahead and continue what you are doing right now, here is a check. So I would say, post that, we had 8 consecutive weekend meetings with Sanjay Purohit. And I'm talking about 2013. And that way, we were able to come up with a full-fledged program of school intervention. So that time, we were thinking of school as a system. How can you start improving school? And we also named the program as a school transformation program. That time we call it STP, School Transformation Program. And then over a period of time, we named it as STEP, School Transformation and Empowerment Program. So I would say one of the biggest thing that we got from Sanjay Purohit was the ability to think beyond your current potential. And that was something that kept nudging us. Every time we would meet him, he would put a zero on our targets. He'd put a zero on what we were doing, 1 0 or 2 zeros, depending on what he was seeing that time. We'll say we'll work in one school. He will say, why not 100 schools? What is stopping you guys? Another thing that he told us was that we are never limited by funds. See, in the beginning days, funds is something that everybody keeps thinking about. Yaar, paisa kahan se aayega? Paisa kahan se aayega? And he would say, you would never be limited by funds. You would be limited by your own vision. So just think about what do you want to achieve? What do you guys want to achieve? And then let's try and see if there are people who can support the idea. So I would say that was the main nudge from Sanjay Purohit, which led us to go on a different trajectory. Otherwise, we were doing many things. Like when in 2013, when we started visiting the communities, we started teaching. We were also doing one health profiling of the households over there, that how can this community people can become healthy, and all these around children. But the idea of taking a systems approach, an idea of seeing how can system be enabled, and rather than be continuing our intervention for forever, is something that we learned a lot. And that way the entire journey got changed. And like as I told, mentorship is the key thing. And if you get mentorship in the early phases of your organization, I think that defines where you would reach. Or it's like a cricket match. If you have done good in power plays, you would potentially be able to score a very good run.
This is so fascinating, Santosh, because it reminds me of the example from the epic Ramayana in terms of how Hanuman had forgotten his true potential. And then Jamwant reminded him about it. And then Hanuman did what he did. And he, of course, all of us know about that. So somewhere, I love the fact that Sanjay, when he spoke with you, he not just reminded you about the potential, but in that potential, he kept adding zeros.
Oh, yes, of course. Of course.
That's so fascinating. And it, of course, changed the trajectory, like you said. And उसके चलते मतलब बहुत चीजें बदल गई और you've been able to come to where you are, and the vision really expanded, and it's really about doing it at the scale of the country. So, Santosh, now you speak about the systems approach right now. And of course, I presume on the back of it is the aspect of looking at how, because you spoke about also the fact that it's about enabling the system, right? So somewhere deep within it is the idea of sustainability. It's not about you coming from outside, trying to bring an intervention, which the moment you walk away, things flatten out, right? Vis-a-vis systems thinking, systems approach, and how you enable the system so that things come in a way that they sustain over a period of time. So why not, speak through that? कि वो क्या था, मतलब क्या difference था अब इस approach में that came with this?
I would say three important points that helped us to design our intervention. And again, that time we did not even know all these like one-liners, phrases. वो उस समय तो कर रहे थे, काम करना था, तो हम लोग भी काम करते करते बहुत सारी चीजें डिजाइन करते. But as we retrospectively, as we reflect, we understand that for any sustainability, leadership is very important. If we don't have a leader, it's very, very important to sustain any practices, or in fact, acceptance of the practices in the first go is very, very difficult. स्कूल टीचर कितना भी चाह ले अच्छा करना, जब तक उसको स्कूल प्रिंसिपल, स्कूल हेडमास्टर, हेड टीचर की तरफ से, गवर्नमेंट की तरफ से वो फ्लेक्सिबिलिटी नहीं मिलती है, तब तक वो बहुत अच्छा नहीं कर सकते हैं. ठीक है, सबसे पहला चीज है कि आपकी लीडरशिप कितनी स्ट्रांग है. सेकेंड इंपॉर्टेंट थिंग इज कि while when we work, most of the time when we work, we always try to keep interventions around us कि हम ये करेंगे, हम ये जाके दे पाएंगे, versus the approach that stakeholder क्या करेंगे. ठीक है, I think that was very important for us. That became very important for us कि how do you really enable the stakeholder to take action.
Right.
And the ability of a stakeholder to continuously drive an action will lead to an improvement, and then we call it as micro improvement. In like nowadays we call it micro improvement, and all these action leads to micro improvement. These micro improvements will then get into a mega impact. This is what we learned. That's our second point. And the third point is about how do you become invisible. More visible we are, I would say, more unscalable we are. If we are less visible, we are more scalable. So that was the third learning, I would say, the third thing that became as part of our intervention. So if you go to Anekal, or if you go to any of the places where we are working, I really think, or I hope that you would not see the name of Mantra4Change anywhere. We don't want that to happen, because वो जितना ज्यादा होगा वो हमारे स्केल प्लस वो इनेबलमेंट जो हमने किया है स्टेक होल्डर का, वो उनसे वापस छीन लेता है. मतलब एजेंसी अप्रोच के टोटली अगेंस्ट है. तो इसलिए हमारा नाम आपको कहीं पर नहीं दिखेगा. आई थिंक दैट वाज द थर्ड, or that is a third important thing that we learned about the system. So one is about our own invisibility while we are working with our stakeholders. Second, the ability of stakeholder to drive micro improvements. And third, the role of leadership. These are the three things that I would say found very important in the system.
So that's very powerful, Santosh, because coming up with something like this is in itself very, very hard. मतलब in hindsight you can always look at it and say कि ये हमारे mantras बन गए. These became the mantras for Mantra for Change. But it's really hard to come up with these, right? So I wanted to speak through कि ये जो principles आए, which now in a way are the guiding light for you, ये कैसे surface करें धीरे धीरे? Because I'm sure, it's not that even as you were taking mentorship from Sanjay wouldn't have told them upfront that, ये तीन चीजें करनी है, right? These would have come up over time. तो ये कैसे निकल के आए?
Okay, so like as I told, पहले इतने phrases, sentences, jargons भी नहीं थे. अब थोड़ा समझ में आया जब हम लोग रिफ्लेक्ट ज्यादा करते हैं तो. लेकिन आई वुड से मोर देन एनीथिंग इट्स अबाउट योर लिव्ड एक्सपीरियंसेस. तो जितना आप फील्ड पर हो, जैसे अगेन मैं आपको बैंगलोर में जो अनेकल में हमारा इंटरवेंशन है उसकी अगर मैं बात करूँ, हमने वहां पे जब काम करना चालू किया तो वी वर द वंस हु वर डूइंग द ट्रेनिंग ऑफ द टीचर्स. वी वर द वन हु वर डूइंग लॉट ऑफ लीडरशिप कैपेसिटी बिल्डिंग प्रोग्राम. अगेन ओवर अ पीरियड ऑफ टाइम वी रियलाइज दैट अगर हम नहीं कर रहे हैं ट्रेनिंग तो कौन कर रहा है ट्रेनिंग? कोई करेगा भी कि नहीं करेगा? अगर हम ही करते रह जाएंगे तो फिर कैसे होगा? मतलब देन तो वी आर मेकिंग सिस्टम डिपेंडेंट ऑन अस. ठीक है, पहले किसी और पे डिपेंडेंट है, अब हम पे डिपेंडेंट हो जाएंगे, तो फिर कहाँ निकल रहे हैं हम लोग यहाँ से? एग्जिट क्या कर रहे हैं हम लोग? आई थिंक तो वो एग्जिट करना है. एग्जिट करने के लिए क्या कर सकते हैं, उसके वजह से एक चीज तो निकल के आया था. दूसरा चीज,
और ये सॉरी संतोष, इस चीज को पूछना चाहूंगा. तो ये जो ख्याल आया, राइट, कि हमें एग्जिट करना है, बिकॉज अभी हम करे जा रहे हैं, लेकिन हमको क्योंकि स्केल पे काम करना है और कई जगह काम करना है, अगर हम ही यहाँ पे रह गए तो हम निकले नहीं, तो फिर ये होगा कैसे इन a sustainable fashion, right? That becomes the question. Now, just wanted to ask a bit around this, that this aspect, because you said this was like a lived experience, right? And then so you would have felt it as this was happening. But how long did it take for that lived experience to tell you कि ये यहाँ से निकलना है हमें?
4 साल, आई वुड से 4 years. 2013 to 2017 was the time. And I would say by 2017, we were at a point where we started really thinking about large scale systems. कि अभी तक उस समय तक हम लोग ना स्कूल्स में ज्यादा थे, मतलब इंडिपेंडेंट स्कूल्स जो सिंगल स्कूल्स हैं, ठीक है, वहां से फिर हमने सोचना चालू किया कि नाउ इफ वी हैव टू रियली टेक दिस प्रोग्राम टू अ क्लस्टर, अ ब्लॉक, अ डिस्ट्रिक्ट और स्टेट, तो यार कैसे कर सकते हैं ये, मतलब ये अभी जो हम कर रहे हैं वो तो हम स्केल ही नहीं कर पाएंगे, मतलब वी वर by 2017 we were working, I would say, or the step program was running with around 50 schools. Few were in Andhra Pradesh, few were in Bangalore. Some of them were government, some of them were private schools. तो हमने सोचा कि यार भारत में टोटल तो हम लोग जितना पढ़े हैं अभी तक 1.5 मिलियन स्कूल्स है, ठीक है, उसमें 1 मिलियन गवर्नमेंट स्कूल्स है. नाउ वी हैव टू रियली से कि जो विजन हमने लिखा है कि वन डे भारत के सारे बच्चों को एक इनेबलिंग लर्निंग एनवायरनमेंट मिल जाएगा, वो तो हम लोग कभी अपने लाइफ टाइम में अचीव ही नहीं कर पाएंगे. तो वहां से काफी ये निकल के आने लग गया कि आप किस तरीके से आप जहां पे काम कर रहे हैं उसको एग्जिट कैसे कर सकते हैं, पहला. दूसरा कि आप ये कैसे इंश्योर कर सकते हैं कि यू आर ऑल्सो लुकिंग एट डिफरेंट सिस्टमिक लेयर्स, ठीक है, ब्लॉक, डिस्ट्रिक्ट, स्टेट, वो डिफरेंट डिफरेंट सिस्टमिक लेयर्स को आप कैसे देख सकते हैं. और जो तीसरी चीज जो उस समय इंपॉर्टेंट हुई थी, आई वुड से रोल ऑफ टेक्नोलॉजी, एंड whole credit goes to Step and Diksha, I would say. All these were emerging during the same time. And I would say that really helped us to push our thinking. And I still remember again, Sanjay Purohit told us कि minimalistic program बनाओ. अब वो तो बोल देते हैं मिनिमलिस्टिक प्रोग्राम बनाओ, और हम लोग तो बड़ा बड़ा प्रोग्राम बनाने का आदत है, डिजाइन अच्छा करते हैं, थोड़ा बुक निकाल देते थे. तो उन्होंने बोला कि until unless you create a minimalistic program, it won't scale. ठीक है, सो वहां से वो मिनिमलिस्टिक प्रोग्राम थिंकिंग हमारा आना चालू हुआ कि 2017 में वी स्टार्टेड डिजाइनिंग दोज प्रोग्राम्स व्हिच कुड रियली बी स्केल्ड. एंड अगेन द फ्रेज दैट वी गॉट वाज कि start working at scale, you may not be able to scale what works, right? So we started working at scale. We started looking at state as a model of intervention.
I am learning a lot in this conversation. Hope you are too. Which questions would you like me to ask? What areas would you like me to explore further? Please write to me at gaurav@takestep.org.
Right. And that's very powerful and interesting insight, because when we look around, we see that it is this minimalistic design which is an important aspect of everything which kind of works at scale, right? So be it the example of Aadhaar, in terms of how that's being leveraged by so many different ecosystem organizations for so many different types of use cases, right? And then this is like minimalistic to say ki bhai aap kaun hai, who are you, your ID, and now how do you do many things on the back of it, including direct benefits transfer and whatnot, right? That can really work at scale.
Totally agree.
Basically trying to design everything to the T, right?
Yeah.
तो
Yeah.
संतोष, इस बारे में अगर थोड़ा और डीप में जाए, तो बिकॉज यू स्पोक अबाउट द फैक्ट पहले हमारे डिटेल प्रोग्राम होते थे, बड़ी बड़ी बुक लिख देते थे, और अब हम मिनिमलिस्टिक प्रोग्राम के बारे में सोच रहे हैं. तो ये डिफरेंस क्या था? व्हाट वाज इट? आई मीन इन रियल टर्म्स, कि जैसे आपका प्रोग्राम पहले क्या लगता था और जब वो मिनिमलिस्टिक कर दिया तो तब कैसा लगने लगा?
तो एक जो इम्पोर्टेंट ये आया था कि जैसे हमने क्लस्टर ट्रांसफॉर्मेशन प्रोग्राम बनाया. The cluster transformation program would entail some 6 levers on which the program would change. And we will say that until and unless all the 6 levers are being touched upon, the program will not function. Now, over a period of time, or the change or the shift that we brought in this entire thing was, one, why do we need to touch upon all these 6 levers? Let's focus on one leader. Let's work with the leader on micro improvement. The leader's micro improvement should touch upon the remaining 5 levers, right? And that choice should be there with the leader, depending on the context in which the leader is sitting. So again, another important thing was context intensive. How do you really become a context intensive designer when you are working with a particular state? जो हम बैंगलोर में बैठ के डिजाइन कर रहे हैं या फिर कर्नाटका में बैठ के डिजाइन कर रहे हैं, हम जाएंगे पंजाब में, वहां बोलेंगे कि आप इसको इंप्लीमेंट कर दो, तो वो बोलेंगे कि आप ये 6 लीवर, हमारे यहाँ तो ये 6 लीवर पे नहीं काम करता है. तो फिर हम बोलेंगे अच्छा हम तो काम ही नहीं कर सकते हैं क्योंकि हम तो यही 6 लीवर बना लिए. वर्सेस हम अब वहां बोले ठीक है, हम बस एक ही काम कर रहे हैं, हम बस आपके साथ को क्रिएट कर रहे हैं डिजाइन, ठीक है, आपके लीडर के साथ हम को क्रिएट कर रहे हैं, उसके थ्रू लीडरशिप का कैपेसिटी डेवलपमेंट हो रहा है, एंड देन बाकी जो लीवर्स है वो हम साथ में डिजाइन करेंगे। आप आई थिंक वो है कि इंस्टेड ऑफ डूइंग कि नहीं ये सारा कुछ होगा तभी हम कुछ करेंगे, वर्सेस लेट्स टेक वन थिंग, work with that particular leader, and then define, co-design, co-create the program with the leader itself. I think that was one of the biggest shift in our way of working. So वहां से ही minimalistic हो गया हमारा कि सबको अगर नहीं भी है तो लेट्स टेक वन एंड देन स्केल इट, वो पूरे स्टेट लेवल पे उसको लेकर जा सकते हैं। जैसे अगर मैं आपको पंजाब का ही एग्जांपल देता हूँ। पंजाब में 800 ब्लॉक मेंटर्स और डिस्ट्रिक्ट मेंटर्स थे। 800 ब्लॉक मेंटर्स डिस्ट्रिक्ट मेंटर्स के साथ हमने सिंपल सा चीज डिजाइन किया, क्लासरूम ऑब्जर्वेशन कैसे कर सकते हैं। ठीक है, नाउ दैट क्लासरूम ऑब्जर्वेशन form was completely designed on Shiksha Lokam, which is now the capability is on Diksha as well. So classroom observation was happening on Diksha. Some capacity building program was done for BMDM. Now with the data, we were able to sit with the education department and understand which are the areas in which the teachers need capacity development. What are the things which are happening good in the school, in the classroom? What are the things that we need to improve? Now you are just talking about agency. This is the agency game, right? You are saying ki what we have, what we can, and what we wish, right? So that's what we were able to visualize कि सब कुछ डिजाइन करके मत लेकर जाओ, एक चीज लेकर जाओ और सिस्टम के साथ बाकी चीजें डिजाइन करो ना, सिस्टम के साथ, उससे आपका फिर आप निकल सकते हो। फिर यू कैन एग्जिट फ्रॉम द सिस्टम आफ्टर वाइल, यू कैन से कि अब तो आप ही लोग करने लग गए हो सब चीज, हमारी क्या जरूरत है फिर, तो आप निकल जाओ फिर वहां से। आपने उनके साथ काम करके सब कुछ कर दिया है। वो काफी बड़ा शिफ्ट था। तो वही मतलब 6 लीवर की जगह पर एक चीज पकड़ो, एक चीज पकड़ के जाओ, बाकी 5 लीवर वो सिस्टम डिजाइन करने, सिस्टम के साथ बैठ के डिजाइन करो। आई थिंक वो हमारे लिए काफी बड़ा चेंज आया था।
Right. And a significant shift basically in terms
बिल्कुल
of the way you see things, the way you do things. Because here you're talking about कि पहले 6 लीवर थे तो अब गफलत में आ जाते थे कि भाई ये ऐसे कर रहे हैं, नहीं कर रहे हैं, क्या कर रहे हैं,
बिल्कुल
वर्सेस सेइंग चलो एक चीज को पकड़ते हैं,
बिल्कुल
लीडर को पकड़ते हैं, उनके साथ को क्रिएट करते हैं
बिल्कुल
और उस चीज को ठीक से करा, उसमें डेटा और विजिबिलिटी को रेज करा, तो वो
बिल्कुल
अपने आप उसको देख के विद दैट एजेंसी दे स्टार्ट talking about the fact कि look, we did this, it happened at scale, now we see this data, and based on this data we have now the agency to make decisions about what else needs to change. But by virtue of
Exactly.
doing that, you somewhere inculcated also this habit of working on something which is like a micro improvement.
इम्प्रूवमेंट, एग्जैक्टली, एक्शन लीड्स टू माइक्रो इम्प्रूवमेंट, राइट? तो वो उन्होंने कुछ एक्शन दिया,
Yeah,
फिर वो माइक्रो इम्प्रूवमेंट हो रहा है, एंड सक्सेस लीड्स टू मोर सक्सेस।
right.
एक बार कुछ
Absolutely.
सक्सेस हुआ तो उसके लोगों को एक्साइटमेंट होता है, अपने इंथुजियाज्म में कुछ और ट्राई करते हैं, कुछ और ट्राई किया फिर उसमें सक्सेस होता है, कुछ और, तो ये सेल्फ फीलिंग सिस्टम बनाने की कोशिश कर रहे हैं।
Got it. So with that, Santosh, I just wanted to dive a little deeper into ये micro improvement क्या है, right? क्योंकि सुनने में बड़ा अच्छा लगता है, right? And of course, a lot of us would have also seen that formula कि अगर आप 1% change रोज करें, that number ends up being more than 37 times the initial number by the end of the year, right? तो ये मतलब the maths and the compounding that brings about that thing is seriously humongous in terms of the change. But how do you kind of look at micro improvement? What is micro improvement in this context? And
मैं
for you?
बिहार का एग्जांपल आपको देता हूँ, पंजाब का काफी हो गया। तो बिहार स्टेट की अगर मैं बात करूँ तो बिहार स्टेट में करीब 69,000 स्कूल्स के साथ अभी हम लोग माइक्रो इम्प्रूवमेंट प्रोग्राम चलाए। ठीक है, उसमें क्या किया? सबसे पहले हम स्टेट से पूछे कि भाई स्टेट में किस चीज का माइक्रो इम्प्रूव, मतलब क्या इम्प्रूव अभी हम लोग पकड़ सकते हैं, एक चीज पकड़ते हैं, एक क्वार्टर उसको रन करके देखते हैं। ठीक है, तो हमने सबसे पहला चीज बोला कि लेट्स स्टार्ट विद रीडिंग कॉर्नर। ठीक है, कि हमारे जितने स्कूल्स हैं उन स्कूल्स में जो गिवन रिसोर्सेज हैं उन रिसोर्सेज को लेकर किस तरीके से स्कूल प्रिंसिपल्स या स्कूल के अंदर में जो HTs हैं, HMs हैं, वो अपने स्कूल में एक रीडिंग कैंपेन टाइप का कर सकते हैं। ठीक है, अब ये सिंपल इसलिए है क्योंकि आपको इसके लिए you can also do this using newspaper, you can also do using the textbooks which are there in the school. The only difference that we created over there was to make it a state's mission. तो स्टेट का ये मिशन हो गया. अब स्टेट के मिशन के वजह से अब हर स्कूल के अंदर में एक छोटा सा रीडिंग कॉर्नर क्रिएट कर रहे हैं लोग. ठीक है, रीडिंग कॉर्नर क्रिएट करने में भी कुछ खर्च नहीं होता है. ठीक है, इट्स ऑल अबाउट योर इंटेंट. ठीक है, आपने रीडिंग कॉर्नर क्रिएट किया, बच्चों को एक छोटा सा समय दिया. ठीक है, जहां पर कि बच्चे और टीचर रीडिंग कर रहे हैं वहां पर. ठीक है, एंड दिस इज नॉट ओनली टेक्स्ट बुक रीडिंग. वो टेक्स्ट बुक के अलावा भी जो भी किताबें अपने बाहर किसके पास एक्सेस नहीं होती है छोटी मोटी किताबों की, बुक्स लेकर आ रहे हैं. देर आर एग्जाम्पल्स इन द स्टेट ऑफ बिहार वेयर चिल्ड्रन ब्रॉट बुक्स, देयर पेरेंट्स ब्रॉट बुक इन द स्कूल एंड एवरीबडी स्टार्टेड यूजिंग दोज बुक्स ड्यूरिंग द रीडिंग पीरियड. राइट, तो ये एक माइक्रो इंप्रूवमेंट हम लोगों ने वहां पे रन किया ना. इसको करने के बाद अभी जो एक्साइटमेंट है बिहार के अंदर में, एंटायर इनरोलमेंट कैंपेन वाज ड्रिवन विद अ नैरेटिव ऑफ माइक्रो इंप्रूवमेंट कि हमें बिहार के स्कूलों में इनरोलमेंट इंप्रूव करना है. दिस इज द बेस्ट टाइम. नाउ हाउ कैन स्कूल लीडर्स bring more enthusiasm in the community, more enthusiasm in the teachers, and drive micro improvement. And there are great photos and great videos of what Bihar has done. Numbers भी अच्छे आए हैं. ठीक है, स्कूल सरकारी स्कूलों के अंदर में जो एनरोलमेंट अभी बढ़ा है. इन पंजाब स्टेट लास्ट वीक में एक दिन के अंदर 1 लाख एनरोलमेंट हुआ है पंजाब के अंदर. एक दिन में 1 लाख एनरोलमेंट इन गवर्नमेंट स्कूल्स. सो ऑल दीज थिंग्स, I would say these are the examples. There could be multiple examples. I would say for a leader, a micro improvement could also be about getting the panchayats involved in the school system and just do a cleanliness exercise. जैसे हम स्वच्छ भारत अभियान बोलते हैं, तो स्वच्छ स्कूल अभियान भी हो सकता है. स्वच्छ स्कूल अभियान करने के लिए हमने पंचायत को इन्वॉल्व कर लिया, हमने गांव के लोगों को, अपने ब्लॉक के लोगों को इन्वॉल्व कर लिया. स्कूल के अंदर एक स्वच्छ मिशन की तरह हमने इसको लॉन्च कर दिया. बच्चे भी इन्वॉल्व हो गए, पेरेंट्स भी इन्वॉल्व हो गए. इसके वजह से कितना तरह का बदलाव आ जाएगा. इसके वजह से आपका तो कुछ खर्च भी नहीं हो रहा है इसमें. सिंपल सा चीज है, इसको करने में ज्यादा समय भी नहीं लगेगा, ज्यादा आपकी मेहनत भी नहीं है. बट दिस इटसेल्फ कैन बिकम अ माइक्रो इंप्रूवमेंट. सो देयर आर मल्टीपल एग्जांपल्स. सो आई जस्ट गेव यू फ्यू एग्जांपल्स व्हिच आई हैव सीन और व्हिच मंत्रा फॉर चेंज हैज ट्रिगर्ड अक्रॉस द स्टेट्स वेयर मंत्रा फॉर चेंज इज वर्किंग.
बहुत fascinating है Santosh, because first and foremost what struck me was earlier you would speak about 50 schools, right? Now you spoke about 69,000 schools, right? Look at that change, right? And look at the smile on your face. I mean, of course listeners cannot see the smile, but I'm sure they can feel the smile. 69,000 schools just in Bihar vis-a-vis 50 schools that you were at earlier, right? So change in scale and how it works, amazing. It's like all of a sudden you've now climbed the mountain, you're on the top of the mountain, right?
Exactly.
So what we describe as a typical +1 change, which is
+1 change,
right, which is irreversible yet transformational.
Yes,
but really micro in nature.
Exactly.
Amazing examples. तो मतलब तो संतोष, ये तो वैसी वाली कहानी होगी कि मतलब चेंज किया, अब स्केल पे चीजें चल रही हैं, राइट? अब ये करते हुए क्या गलतियां हो रही थी, क्या सीखने को मिल रहा था?
गलतियां बहुत सारी हुई, मतलब अगेन गलतियां नहीं होगी तो आप सीखेंगे कैसे? तो सबसे पहली जो गलती हमारे साइड से, और मतलब आई वुड से लर्निंग that we got while we were doing things, one was keeping us in the center. I think that's one big mistake that we do. Many a times we don't understand कि stakeholders का need क्या है, उनका want क्या है. ठीक है, and we design an intervention. We take a product. Basically आपने एक 2-door 3-door रेफ्रिजरेटर बनाया और एक स्लम में चले गए वहां बेचने के. यार वहां पे इसकी नीड भी नहीं है, उसकी वांट जरूर हो सकती है बट नीड नहीं है वहां पर. ठीक है, कोई लेगा भी नहीं वहां. तो वो बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट था हमारे लिए कि हाउ डू वी रियली एम्पैथाइज एंड देन डिजाइन समथिंग. एंड दैट्स वन ऑफ द थिंग्स दैट आई वुड से वी लर्न एज वी वेंट फॉरवर्ड. वी लर्नड इट व्हाइल वर्किंग विद स्टेट्स, वी लर्नड इट व्हाइल इंटरेक्टिंग विद लॉट ऑफ पीपल. आपके स्टेट एक्टर्स के साथ भी, डिस्ट्रिक्ट एक्टर्स के साथ भी, स्टेक होल्डर्स के साथ भी, पेरेंट्स बच्चों के साथ भी इंटरेक्ट करके बहुत कुछ समझ में आया.
ये जस्ट वांटेड टू अगेन कमेंट है, बड़ी इंपॉर्टेंट लर्निंग है, बिकॉज कई बार क्या होता है कि एज आउटसाइडर्स, राइट, who are trying to become a part of the system or work with the system, we say ye change kar lo, wo change kar lo, ye hona chahiye, wo ho jana chahiye, and so on and so forth, right? Whereas the reality of that system over there and the ecosystem which surrounds it, including different stakeholders, may be very, very different.
True.
And that's where I think this word empathy is really important.
I agree.
How do I
agree.
empathize with the situation, the context, and what people want to do, but also can do?
Can do. Yeah.
Particular context, and hence co-creating that design with them.
Yes. So that's one important thing, I would say. We learned it while we were at it. Second important thing was that system consists of multiple players, multiple actors are there in the department. आप जब जाओगे तो प्रिंसिपल सेक्रेटरी से लेकर एजुकेशन डायरेक्टर, डायरेक्टर जनरल स्कूल एजुकेशन, बहुत सारे लोग होते हैं. तो समथिंग अगेन दैट वी learned was that your entry point could be principal secretary, but then over a period of time build great relation with all the people in the department. That was something that we learned, because again the IS cadre will get transfer, okay, but people under the IS cadre who are working in the education system, they would be there for a longer period of time, and they ensure कि आपका प्रोग्राम जो आप चल रहे हैं, जो आप डिपार्टमेंट के साथ कर रहे हैं, वो चलता रहे. तो आई थिंक वो काफी इंपॉर्टेंट लर्निंग थी कि लेट्स नॉट बी डिपेंडेंट ऑन वन पर्सन व्हेन यू आर ट्राइंग टू ड्राइव योर प्रोग्राम. एंड आई थिंक दिस लर्निंग हैज come over a period of time while working with, and again we have seen many IS transfers over a period of time. तो ये learning काफी इंपॉर्टेंट रही हमारे लिए कि आप अलग अलग एक्टर्स के साथ, सिस्टम में जो भी लोग हैं सबके साथ रिलेशन बनाओ, ताकि प्रोग्राम और पकड़ के बताओ उनको कि आप क्यों कर रहे हैं, क्या कर रहे हैं. वो बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट है. कोई आपके पास नहीं आएगा, मतलब आप ये मत सोचो कि पीपल विल कम टू यू, यू आर देयर, दैट्स फाइन, बट ऑल्सो अंडरस्टैंड दे हैव हंड्रेड्स ऑफ थिंग्स टू डू. आप जाओ किसी सरकारी दफ्तर में, 100 फाइल्स से कम किसी के टेबल पे नहीं होता है. हाउ डू रियली मेक योर प्रोग्राम देयर प्रोग्राम? ठीक है, यू शुड नॉट बी एग्जिस्टेंट ओवर देयर. योर प्रोग्राम, इट शुड बी कॉल्ड गवर्नमेंट्स प्रोग्राम. ये बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट है. तो वो करने के लिए आप सबके साथ, सबका अगर वो बन जाएगा तो फिर आप, मतलब आई थिंक दैट्स अ गुड सक्सेस फॉर यू. दिस इज आई वुड से सेकंड लर्न. वी अगेन वी लर्नड इट फ्रॉम आवर मिस्टेक्स कि सबके साथ करना होता है. Third point, and I'll take a pause after third point. Third point was कि this again we learned recently, when you are working at a state level, it's also important to get intelligence a lot from schools and district. Many a times again you create a project management unit, you start working with the principal secretary, you start working with the education director, and then आप खुश हो जाते हो कि अच्छा ये numbers आ गए, ये चीजें रोल आउट हो गई, बट वो रोल आउट होकर सीधा जा रही है, तो ये स्टेट से स्कूल चीजें पहुंच रही है कि नहीं पहुंच रही है, वो देखना मुझे लगता है कि हमारे लिए काफी इंपॉर्टेंट है. ठीक है, फॉर एन ऑर्गेनाइजेशन लाइक मंत्रा, दैट इज वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट. एंड हेंस नाउ वी डोंट कॉल our programs as state transformation program, or we call our program as STEP, School Transformation and Empowerment Project. So that's a shift that we have taken recently, 2 years back. Okay, let's not call our program as state transformation program. Let's call it STEP only. STEP in UP, STEP in Bihar. So all our programs are now school transformation program. And if things are not reaching the school level, then there are some processes, structures, things that we need to work upon. So that's very, I would say these are the 3 important learnings or challenges से हम लोगों को learning जो मिला over a period of time.
Right. Very, very powerful.
Yeah.
So Santosh, now we are at the end of this and just wanted to do a quick rapid fire.
All
right. So your favorite mistake?
My favorite mistake in the early days or now, or just generic?
Whenever. I mean, in the context of Mantra4Change.
In the context of Mantra4Change, my favorite mistake is that I take finances very seriously.
Okay.
That's my mistake.
All right. And it has a bearing on what actions or what decisions you end up making.
No, I get a little frustrated that यार कैसे होगा, क्या होगा, and it's on both the side. If ज्यादा पैसा आ जाता तो भी टेंशन हो जाता है, कम पैसा रहता तभी भी टेंशन हो जाता है. So I take my finances very seriously.
All right. Your favorite learning?
More invisible you are, more scalable you are.
Your favorite aha moment?
Meeting with Principal Secretary Education Punjab when he told that help me build visibility into my system.
Final one, your favorite prediction for the future?
Future is great. I really believe that technology would be a game changer. And I feel that the way the adoption of technology is there in the country, we are going to be doing good. I'm very hopeful. I also call myself hope की दुकान, so maybe because of which. बट अभी मैं आपको जैसे बिहार की बात, इसी बात पे मैं बोल रहा हूँ, जितने बच्चे वहां पर बिहार में व्हाट्सएप से लिटरेसी सीख रहे हैं ना, उतने स्कूल में नहीं सीख रहे। मतलब वो व्हाट्सएप का मैसेज पढ़ते पढ़ते वो पढ़ना सीख जा रहा है।
अरे
ठीक है।
वाह।
हाँ, तो मतलब बहुत सारे लोग हैं। अब मेरे घर में जो मेरे घर में एक मेड आती है, वो मेड बिहारी है, वो स्कूल नहीं गई कभी। ठीक है, वो व्हाट्सएप का चैट पढ़ती है।
हाँ,
ठीक है, वो तो पढ़ती है व्हाट्सएप का चैट, तो उसको लिटरेसी नहीं है क्या? उसको लिटरेसी तो हो रहा है, तभी तो वो पढ़ पा रही है। तो मतलब आई एम वेरी होपफुल अबाउट द फ्यूचर। Many of the technological intervention will help drive lot of optimism, or will infuse optimism into the system.
Great, Santosh. So, on that optimistic note, I really love your outlook for the future and appreciate the time that you could take out and walk us through the experiences, the learnings, and the journey in itself. Thank you so much, Santosh, and we wish you the very best. I hope your optimism really pans out in the future, and you end up achieving success with what you are looking to do at Mantra for Change, and of course for the benefit of the children in our country.
Thank you so much, sir. When you say Mantra for Change is also ecosystem also. So I'm really hopeful that all our ecosystem partners will also achieve what they intend to achieve.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Wish them the same. Thank you so much, Santosh.
Thank you.
It was
Thank
a
you so much.
pleasure talking.
Thank you so much.
I unlocked a lot of possibilities in this conversation. Hope it did the same for you. Which leaders would you like me to meet? What would you like me to ask them? Please write to me at gaurav@xstep.org.